We're back for second half independent off-tube studio commentary from the game at the Emirates. It is goalless between Arsenal and Brentford, and the game has just got underway with a long ball played towards the edge of the Brentford penalty area. Brentford trying to clear their lines, White trying to keep it in play, but the ball just getting away from Ben White. So it is out for a throw. Brentford looking to try and carry on where they left off in the second half. In the first half they did very well here, I thought, trying to upset Arsenal's rhythm. A couple of good chances for the Bees. Arsenal, for their part, they certainly had plenty of the ball, but I'm sure Mikel Arteta would feel as though for the amount of possession his side had at times, they should have just done a little bit more with it. But a bit of a loose ball in midfield, potentially one for Norgaard to try and close down. Janelt trying to get towards Zinchenko, but he did really well actually there, Zinchenko, to keep Arsenal in possession. And the Gunners now looking to go through midfield here with Odegaard getting a pass from Partey. He's caught in possession though, and Brentford now looking to try and get forward here with Ivan Toney. He's brought down by Martin Odegaard, and it's going to be a free kick. Frustration there for the Arsenal captain, but it's almost like a sort of a good sort of summary of how the first half went. This first minute of the second, Arsenal trying to get on the ball and Brentford upsetting them. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and Ben Rogers taking you through the action.
Yeah, really sloppy from Arsenal, isn't it? And Martin Odegaard in the end brings him down, just out of frustration more than anything else. But I'm sure Mikel Arteta would have been getting into his players and really emphasising the importance. We spoke about at half time, Paul, the importance of this half of football in terms of the title race, and it's a big 45 minutes for both teams. Brentford, of course, they've got European ambitions, but Arsenal with a trip to Manchester City on Wednesday night. This is imperative that the Gunners get a result this afternoon and get a positive result after their last two games that we've spoken about already at the start of the coverage. But Brentford at the moment, they look the more likely.
They do, and Brentford's long free kick played towards the edge of the penalty area. Norgaard headed it on. Toney just about kept it in play, but Brentford unable to recycle the second ball. And you mentioned, of course, the game against City on Wednesday. City play Villa at home tomorrow afternoon in the 4:30 kickoff. Of course, you can never tell, but you would imagine that City are going to win that game. So it puts even more pressure if Arsenal don't get 3 points here. But they're off on the counter down the right-hand side now with Saka finding Ben White. His ball into the box is stopped at the edge of the area there by Rico Henry. Out for a throw to the Gunners down the right-hand side. Played back towards William Saliba. He plays it in towards Bukayo Saka. He's about 30 yards out from goal. Gets away from Norgaard. Plays it square to Zinchenko. Zinchenko to the edge of the area now for Xhaka. He takes it down for Odegaard. He had no route into the box, so he goes back towards Thomas Partey. Zinchenko in towards Xhaka. Feeds a ball down that to as it fired in towards goal there by Bukayo Saka, looking to try and surprise Raya at his near post, but he does make a save and he pushes it out for a corner.
It's really good work there, isn't it, from Granit Xhaka, just to thread Bukayo Saka on that left-hand side off the back of Ethan Pinnock, and then he fires a ball to the near post. David Raya just gets his angles right and just puts a glove behind for a corner. More positive work there from Arsenal. They're trying to find that space in between the wing-back and centre-back, aren't they?
They've taken a short corner this time, trying to thread a ball into the box. Janelt reads that, though, just before it reaches Eddie Nketiah, and it's cleared up towards the halfway line. Taken down by Zinchenko, and back towards goalkeeper Ramsdale, who pumps a long ball up towards the edge of the Brentford penalty area. But it's an aerial battle between Ben Mee and Bukayo Saka. There's only going to be one winner there, and Mee does head it away. And now it's with Mathias Jensen under real pressure there from Granit Xhaka. Jensen using all of his strength to play that ball back towards Ben Mee, who then plays it long to Toney. He hits it first time trying to pick out Brian Mbeumo, but that was ambitious from Ivan Toney, if we put it that diplomatically. And here come Arsenal now with Thomas Partey. He's got space at the edge of the area to find Gabriel Martinelli, who's been closed down by Roslev. Back towards Zinchenko. Left-hand edge of the penalty area. Zinchenko back to Martinelli. There's Roslev again alongside Vitaly Janelt. Brentford trying to double up on the Arsenal wide men here as it's back with Zinchenko. Again, no route in towards the box. Plays it square to Saliba. Over now towards Ben White, and there's four Arsenal players lurking at the edge of the area if they can pick out a pass. Having to just stop at the edge of the box again as Saka has the ball now, plays it towards Odegaard. Odegaard gets away from Jensen, puts a cross in. Ben Mee is in the way of that cross, and it's out for an Arsenal corner.
It's good work from Arsenal, Paul. The interplay is really good, but it's that word again, compact. I'm looking at the Brentford back line there. There's almost a back seven. The two central midfielders have dropped into that area inside the Brentford penalty area, and they've packed the box out so much that there's just such little room for Arsenal to manoeuvre in, and they can't really find the spaces out wide. They're trying to bring the ball central and find the gaps, but there's just no shooting opportunities for Arsenal. So you think for set pieces, like this corner they've got here, it's really important they can get a good ball into the box, because that seems like the most likely avenue at the moment.
Well, it is, and certainly the way that Arsenal have surrounded the goalkeeper here, they're going to make it difficult for David Raya as Saka puts the ball in. There's not enough height on that, though, and it's easily headed away at the edge of the 6-yard box by Christian Norgaard. And now the loose ball that Odegaard was trying to stop reaches Brian Mbeumo, but Mbeumo rushes his pass, similarly as a couple of minutes ago when Toney tried to hit a first-time ball to Mbeumo. Now it's Mbeumo's turn to rush a pass, and now a lovely ball here from Xhaka to pick out Eddie Nketiah. Gets into the penalty area, he's trying to get away from Aya. He plays a ball across the penalty area, taken down here by Odegaard, who hits it across goal, but it's straight at David Raya. And Odegaard, although he has got a good right foot, he prefers left-footed strikes, really. And in the end, that was quite easy for Raya.
Yeah, you mentioned it, though. It's a fabulous ball from Granit Xhaka, isn't it? And Eddie Nketiah just goes left, goes right, through the legs of Roerslev, then a left-footed, stands up the ball to the back post. Martin Odegaard just said he's a left-footed player, but it's not a bad strike at all. He takes it on his chest, and then his weaker right foot. The technique's really good, actually. He gets his knee over the ball, he strikes through it with his laces, but it's straight down the throat of David Raya, who does well in a low block sort of position, just to keep the ball out, straight into his arms, and get Brentford going on the attack here, as Brentford have won a throw-in in Arsenal defensive territory. But the Gunners have come out in the second half with a bit more poise to their play.
Absolutely, and there needs to be, I think, that they had enough possession in the first half to have scored a goal and put Brentford under real pressure. As it was, Brentford dealt with most of it, I felt, in the first half fairly well. But now Brentford have this throw down the left-hand side. Mathias Jensen, I was saying he wasn't taking much of a run-up. He is taking a run-up now. He's going to try and launch this as far into the box as he can. Plenty of tall players to aim for there for the Danish international. Jensen gets that ball in. It's over the head of Aya. It's still bouncing inside the box. Toney can't get a foot on it. He flicks it up in the air. It drops potentially to Mbeumo. It just played away from him, though. But Brentford still have the ball outside the penalty area here. Mbeumo at the edge of the area, feeding Roerslev. Roerslev tries to get a cross in. It might have just got a slight flick off Zinchenko. In any case, it's headed away towards the edge of the area. Brentford have it back now, but it's a heavy touch from Mbeumo, and that allows Odegaard to clear his lines. And David Raya's come a long way out from goal, and that could have backfired for him because his clearance is straight into Eddie Nketiah. But he'll be very relieved to see that ball goes straight out for a Brentford throw.
It's positive goalkeeper from David Raya, but he just gets his clearance all wrong, doesn't he? He miskicks it, but as you say, luckily for him, it bounces off Eddie Nketiah, who's point-blank range and out for a throw-in. But again, it's almost panic stations for Arsenal when that ball goes into the box. I mentioned it earlier on in the first half, didn't I? That obviously game at the Brentford Community Stadium at the start of last season where Brentford got the 2-0 win, and those long balls into the box were causing Arsenal problems. It's been a bit similar to that, from the long balls into the box from Brentford, the crosses. I think that throw in then. Arsenal they're getting heads on them and they're trying to get feet on them, but there's no real sort of length and height on their clearances, and it's real panic stations at the moment, even though it's 0-0. And Arsenal just been a bit sloppy, and it's summed up there perfectly by Thomas Partey's awful touch.
Yeah, he just lets the ball get away from him at the edge of the area. Brentford could have perhaps gone on a much quicker counter-attack. They just held the ball up in midfield, and now they push forward with Ivan Toney down the right-hand side. He gets away from Gabriel, but running into trouble here with Xhaka closing him down. So he just goes back towards Vitaly Janelt, and things just slow down now. But Brentford will be quite happy to keep this possession. 53 minutes gone. Independent, unofficial off-tube studio commentary. It is goalless between Arsenal and Brentford. It's one of two games that are still goalless in the 3 o'clock kickoffs, the other one being Palace against Brighton. And it's still Bournemouth against Newcastle to come at 5:30 on this service. 2 more games in the Premier League tomorrow. Leeds United against Manchester United at 2 p.m. and then Manchester City against Aston Villa at 4:30. With the Merseyside derby still to come on Monday, 8 p.m. kickoff there, Everton against Liverpool. But here come Arsenal now down the right-hand side. Saka chasing this ball. And, Rico Henry got there first, but then he loses the ball, and Saka is able to get away from him. It's Odegaard now at the edge of the area, tries to lift a cross in. But the ball is away for a goal kick. Just a bit too much height on that one, and no one waiting at the far post.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst ball in the world for Martin Odegaard, was it? As you say, Martin had already dropped him in more of a central position. Granit Xhaka was hanging at the back post, as he so often does now in this sort of new position for him this season under Mikel Arteta. And it was just over the head of Xhaka, who had been marshalled quite well there by Roerslev and out behind for a Brentford goal kick. But I think Arsenal's sort of passage of play has been better in the opening 10 minutes of the second half already. They're finding the spaces that they weren't quite able to find in the first half, but still Brentford's defence relatively little troubled.
Yeah, no real problems here for Brentford as they go down the left-hand side, though, here with Brian and Mbumo. Two players waiting at the edge of the area. Just goes back towards Rico Henry. And Brentford, perhaps quite wisely here, aren't sort of trying to force the issue with an attack. If they'll see a ball into the box, they'll try and play it. But other than that, they're quite happy to go back into midfield just to try and frustrate Arsenal. Any time that Arsenal aren't on the ball is going to be a bonus here for Brentford. As Roslev finds Norgaard, who gets away from Odegaard, breaks into the box, but then his cross is disappointing there from the Brentford captain. And then Arsenal give the ball away in deep inside their own territory. There's another cross coming in, overhit this time. Brentford can't get it right. First of all, they put a ball into the box which was easily dealt with, and then eventually it's a cross which is too high. But Arsenal looking a little bit chaotic at the back at times.
Yes, Gabriel Martinelli there, Paul. He's trying a little backheel flick, isn't he, in his own defensive half, and he gives the ball away, and then Brentford get going again. And I think Mikel Arteta will be really disappointed and really angry with his winger for that, because that's the sort of position there. We just want to hold the ball up, play with your back to goal, and then perhaps you win a free kick, something like that. But that's not what he was doing there. And you know, them little flicks, they're all well and good in when you're attacking and you're one-on-one with your man, but in a defensive half, they're not the sort of what you want to be looking for. I don't think it'll be too long before Mikel Arteta makes a change here, because his Arsenal side just don't seem to have been clicked into full gear from the start of the match, and Brentford, as we've already mentioned, look the most
Brentford have just won the ball back here at the edge of the area. Janelt breaks in, he leaves it here for Mbumo. Mbumo doesn't want to get a shot away. It's now played back towards Toney, and his effort is just wide. Brentford perhaps just guilty of taking a bit too long to finally get that shot away there, but Arsenal were in real trouble there, just couldn't clear their lines.
Yeah, it's Mathias Jensen who picks the pocket, doesn't he, of Thomas Partey, and then it's a flick on. William Saliba gives the ball away as well. Jensen picks it up, and Bremo, as you say, just delays a shot, finds Mathias Jensen. Jensen lays it off to Ivan Toney. Gabriel closes him down really well to give the credit to the Brazilian, but Toney again, another big opportunity. If he hits the target there, Aaron Ramsdale's beaten because it was such a close angle. It's hit well by Toney that I don't think Ramsdale would have got down to his right hand side quick enough, but Brentford come again.
Well, they do. They've won the ball back here, Brentford, and here's Mbumo now finds Roslev, and that's another poor ball from the right hand side. It's far too close to Ramsdale, and it's a comfortable save. Well, you mentioned that Arteta may be thinking about making a change. The Arsenal bench, I was going to go through the Arsenal bench, but Arsenal have gone on a quick counter here with the ball over towards the right hand side for Saka. Things just slow down. They've got Trossard, Kivior, Fabio Vieira, Jorginho, Kozia Dewberry, Holding, Tierney, Tomiyasu, and goalkeeper Turner. So plenty of options there for Mikel Arteta. We'll go through the Brentford bench in just a second, but here come the Gunners now at the edge of the area with Nketiah. Leaves the ball here for Xhaka. Now it's Zinchenko into the box. Martinelli back towards Partey. Got three Brentford players trying to close him down. He goes over towards the left here for Zinchenko. Zinchenko lifts across, puts far too much whip and bend on that. And then a very frustrated arms aloft there from Bukayo Saka on the right-hand side saying, what was that?
Yeah, it was a poor ball from Alex Zinchenko. We know we've spoken about the quality that he's got on the ball, and we expect more from himself because it wasn't a lot of pressure from the Brentford midfielders there to get across. So often in this game they've come out and closed down those crosses straight away, but this time Zinchenko had time to lay the ball off and really get a good delivery in, but he wasn't quite able to do so. And just as I mentioned, Arsenal will be looking towards their substitutes bench. We've seen Takehiro Tomiyasu and Leandro Trossard getting ready and stripped, and I think that's the right decision because I think Gabriel Martinelli has had a poor game and he's on a bit of poor run of form, the Brazilian. He struggled as the last couple of weeks. Just
look at that possession stat there as well. We just saw in the last 5 minutes Brentford with 64% of the ball, so they really are, 66% to Arsenal's 34. It is only a 5-minute spell, but it just shows you that Arsenal aren't being as dominant as they'd like to be at their own stadium. And in the meantime, just looking at the Brentford bench, they've got Visser, Schade, Lewis Potter, Damsgaard, Baptiste, De Silva, Hickey, Zanka Jorgensen, and goalkeeper Matt Cox. So there are options there for Thomas Frank as well. But as Ben mentioned, we are going to see a double change for Arsenal soon with Tomiyasu and Trossard coming on. So you would imagine that's going to be White going off for Tomiyasu. And as for Trossard, I'm not really sure which of the attacking players Arteta would want to change first.
Martinelli, I think.
Martinelli, do you think?
I think he's had a poor game, and I think probably that little backheel flick summed up his performance so far. He struggled to get involved, and Trossard just offers something a bit different to Martinelli. Martinelli's got that pace, he's got that tenacity, hasn't he? With Trossard, he's a player that wants to get on the ball, he's always looking to create, and he can unlock a defence as well. And when there's relatively little room, you need sometimes a player that has got a bit of magic, and Trossard's definitely got that. He's a good player to bring on from the bench.
He is, as Brentford just losing the ball there in midfield as Jensen tried to get the ball back from Ivan Toney. Arsenal are able to win possession back here now with Bukayo Saka. Plays the ball across, which nearly got picked off by Vitaly Janelt, but now Xhaka and Zinchenko keep possession, and then Xhaka with an effort charged down by Ayer at the edge of the box. Still a fight for it in midfield. Arsenal win it back here with Partey finding Ødegaard, and then Partey wins the ball back when it looked like he might be getting away from Ødegaard, and then eventually Christopher Ajer plays a very quick ball back to David Raya, who's able to deal with that and clear it up towards the halfway line. And now it's a long clearance here. Well, it's just a clearance, certainly not a pass there from Vitaly Janelt. Just anywhere will do for Brentford on that particular occasion. Back with Aaron Ramsdale, and now it's Gabriel down the left-hand side finding Martinelli. Martinelli back towards William Saliba. And now on the halfway line, it's with Ben White. Brentford still trying to play as high an offside line as they can, just to try and make things difficult for Arsenal. Saka doing his best to try and upset that offside there. Gets the ball from Ben White on the right-hand side. Ødegaard joins them on that side as well. It's played back now towards midfield. Here's Saliba in towards Gabriel, square to Thomas Partey. It's about 30 yards out from goal. Partey to Ben White. And now it's Ødegaard, right-hand edge of the penalty area. He's got options in. No, he drops the shoulder and puts a cross in himself. Headed away by Ethan Pinnock. Second ball to be picked up here on the left now by Granit Xhaka for Arsenal. And he goes short towards Gabriel. Gabriel at the edge of the area. Brentford just standing off a little bit now. Arsenal able to capitalise as Gabriel plays the ball down towards Ben White on the right-hand side. Now it's with Bukayo Saka trying to find space for the shot. He does get a shot away, charged down by the frame of Mathias Jensen. A loose ball at the edge of the area here as Roerslev does his best to try and let it go out for a goal kick, whereas Xhaka does his best to make sure it's only going to be a throw for Brentford. In the meantime, we're going to see that first Arsenal change, and you're absolutely right, it is Martinelli to go off to be replaced by Leandro Trossard.
He struggled this afternoon, Gabriel Martinelli, and I think Leandro Trossard, as I mentioned, he's just offers something different. But just look at go back to that phase of play there for Arsenal. I think Ben White has done absolutely fabulous over that little decoy dummy run, we like to call it, as he's overlapping, and then it's given Rico Henry the decision: do I follow the run of Ben White or do I track Martin Ødegaard? Ødegaard, as you say, he drops the shoulder, comes inside on the left foot. Rico Henry's gone with Ben White, he's gambled. Ødegaard's then got space to put the ball into the box, and it was a better delivery. Arsenal need more of that from their fullbacks. Zinchenko needs to stay wide and Ben White needs to stay wide, because if they can try and create an overload on that side, I think that's where Arsenal will then get more space for their creative players like Saka, like Trossard, like Ødegaard.
Well, this is exactly what I think Mikel Arteta's looked at this team and he saw, well, already the players he's got out there are enough to try and get something from this game, but just giving that extra option of Trossard, who can pretty much play as an out-and-out forward, but he's got all the trickery of a very difficult-to-stop winger as well, and that's what he'll be hoping for, Mikel Arteta, just to have that little extra option for his side as they go forward now down the left here with Trossard and Zinchenko. First touch of the ball here for the Belgian. Gets away from two Brentford players, back in towards Partey. Now it's with Trossard again. Thomas Partey outside the box, looking to try and get a shot away, being closed down there by Norgaard. And now a quick ball to Zinchenko. It was quite a lot on that pass. Zinchenko couldn't quite control it first time, but Arsenal still keep possession here. Trossard at the edge of the area, trying to get away here from Roerslev. Breaking into the box, closed down, and now Brentford just about win the ball back at the edge of their own penalty area. Vitaly Janelt, they're running straight into trouble, and Brentford are dispossessed. Janelt just tried to do too much himself there. It's with Eddie Nketiah now, edge of the area, turning and firing towards goal. It's that frustration there that Arsenal aren't just creating the chances, and Nketiah with a very speculative effort that goes a long way over.
He's had relatively little involvement in this game, Eddie Nketiah, has he? Because of Brentford have got that back three. He's very isolated up there, and they're compacting. Every time Eddie Nketiah's on the ball, they surround him straight away. This time Eddie Nketiah, he just drops over to that left-hand side, picks the ball up from Leandro Trossard, takes a shoulder roll to get past Ethan Pinnock, and then he's off balance. His strike was a poor one. It was always going over, and it's just, like you say, a pretty bit of frustration there for Eddie Nketiah, who just wanted to try and force something to happen. But Arsenal have got to stay patient. There's still a long time left in this football match.
A long time to go. It's absolutely 63 minutes gone. Independent off-tube studio commentary, and Brentford make an absolute mess of trying to get forward there. And Boomer playing a pass over to the right to no one in particular. And that goes out for a throw to Arsenal. There has been a goal at Selhurst Park. Brighton, for the second time today, take the lead. They had a goal disallowed for offside in the first half. But now Solly March has made it 1-0 to Brighton on 64 minutes in that game. We'll wait to see if that one's going to be confirmed. Here come Arsenal down in the meantime. Ball played towards Bukayo Saka. Gets away from two Brentford players, tries to go for goal himself. His shot deflects into the path of Ben White, who lifts that towards goal. It's headed up in the air by Roslev. He's going to chase that one to stop it, trying to avoid a corner kick in the end. Trossard goes back to Zinchenko's low pass into the box is easily cleared, but it's only a clearance. Brentford are having to commit all 11 men in defence, so even when they clear it long, they haven't really got an outlet at the moment. It's no surprise. Arsenal are just starting to turn up the tempo now. It's with Odegaard down the right-hand side. Being stopped here by Toney, in towards Thomas Partey. Back to William Saliba. Gabriel now pushing forward for Arsenal. Got options here, left and right. Spots the run of Trossard at the edge of the area. Trossard under pressure there from Roslev, just having to go back towards Gabriel. Brentford with a line of 5 just at the edge of the box, trying to frustrate Arsenal here. So Gabriel decides to go for goal. It's a decent left-footed strike, but it's always in the path of David Raya, who makes the save.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad effort from Gabriel. As you say, he struck it quite nicely, but it was never really going to trouble David Raya from that distance. It has to be something special, and it just wasn't, was it? Straight down the gloves, straight down the throat of the Spaniard. 65 minutes played, and Arsenal, you mentioned they're starting to turn the screw a bit. I do think they've improved in this second half, but still, this Brentford defence, you can see why they've got such a solid defensive record. It has to be said, because they're so compact, Brentford. They're so structural, and Arsenal at the moment are just struggling to sort of solve the puzzle that is Brentford. And I think the low block is something that Arsenal have struggled against all season, really. When I look back at the games they've dropped points in, and think back to Everton last week, they employed that sort of low block, compact defence style, and Arsenal just don't seem to have the quality at the moment to unlock the defence.
Well, they've got to try and find something here. We've still got 24 minutes to play plus injury time, as here comes Saka now across the box. Great chance there for Trossard, and he finishes from close range. After all the efforts from Arsenal, overcomplicating things, perhaps it's just a simple ball across the 6-yard box. Brentford went to sleep, and Arsenal make it 1-0.
Well, I said Arsenal didn't have the quality to unlock the defence, but perhaps Brentford have helped them along the way. It's a really good ball in behind from Odegaard to Bukayo Saka, and then Saka's in a foot race. I think it's with actually Mathias Jensen, who's come across to do his defensive duties, but this time Saka just shrugs him off. Brentford are not complaining at all for a foul, and Saka fires a fabulous ball across the face of goal, and Leandro Trossard has only been on the pitch for about 5 minutes, but he marks that with his first Arsenal goal, and he sends the Emirates Stadium into raptures. We'll have a look at a replay of it here. Ben White plays the ball to Bukayo Saka. Again, it's that overlap from Ben White, which causes Rico Henry to drop inside. Then Odegaard finds Bukayo Saka. Saka's in a sort of a foot race, isn't he, with Mathias Jensen? He shrugs him off with ease, though, and then Saka can fire a fabulous ball across goal, and Leandro Trossard is there. Ruslev's sleeping at the back post, and Arsenal take the lead. But again, it's that overload, which this time has worked wonders for Arsenal. Brentford, for the first time, caught asleep. The Gunners lead.
They do, and it's a sloppy goal from Brentford's point of view. Trossard will be delighted to have got that. And as is Mikel Arteta, they're certainly all relieved as well, the Arsenal fans, because it's been a difficult afternoon for them for long periods today. But they lead now by 1-0 with 23 minutes still to play. Big goal that for Leandro Trossard. And we're back underway here now. Long ball played towards the edge of the Arsenal penalty area, taken down by Toney. Tries to get that ball himself after he played it into the box, but it's cleared away by Granit Xhaka, out for a Brentford throw on the left-hand side. Rico Henry is across to take this. Still a bit too far away from goal. In fact, no, it might not be. Mathias Jensen's had just picked the ball up now, so he may try and be launching this one from a long way out to try and get this ball into the penalty area. Brentford have got plenty of men forward, and Brian Mbeumo stood right on the line, of course, using the fact that you can't be offside from a throw. So we'll just wait to see how Jensen can use this, what effectively could be a set piece here for Brentford if he gets the right sort of distance on this. Arsenal with plenty of men back as Jensen does launch this long into the box, headed up in the air by Christopher Ayer. There's going to be a free kick given there for the push from Ben Mee. There's no doubt the referee was going to give that, although Ben Mee is very unhappy with that decision, but it is going to be a free kick to the Gunners. So we're past the halfway points of the second half. Arsenal lead against Brentford by 1-0, and it will be Ben Stinkers through to full time.
Yeah, Arsenal actually struggled from them sort of set piece. Well, say set piece, it was a throw in, isn't it? But the length of the throw in that Mathias Jensen has, it is almost like a set piece, but this time it's a silly foul to give away from Ben Mee. And Mikel Arteta, just our television pictures, I focus on him at the moment, and doesn't really show much emotion. Well, he does show emotion, but you can't really tell what he's thinking until full time or until a goal's gone in, Mikel Arteta. And at the moment, he just looks a cool figure. He's got, well, he looks a bit disgruntled, really, but his side do have the lead after 68.5 minutes that we've got to play here, and Leandro Trossard, a brilliant substitution from Mikel Arteta, because he was only on the pitch a couple of minutes before he gave the Gunners the lead, and that could be a massive goal in this season's title race. It will send Arsenal 8 points clear before Manchester City host Aston Villa tomorrow, and Crystal Palace will confirm it, but they look to have levelled in their derby at Selhurst Park with Brighton. We'll have to confirm who scored for them, I should say, and whether or not it is a goal for them, but we're getting word that Crystal Palace might have levelled at Selhurst Park, and they have indeed, so we'll confirm for you who's got that goal very shortly. As David Raya is going to take a free kick here, deep in Brentford defensive territory after an offside was given against Eddie Nketiah. It's a chance for Brentford to flood the box. Raya, long kick forward. I don't think Rico Henry's going to get into it, is he? Just about keeps it in. William Saliba can easily head it away. Martin Odegaard will bring it down. He finds Bukayo Saka. Can Arsenal play their way out of danger as Brentford look to apply the squeeze? Eddie Nketiah has surely been held onto there by Rico Henry, isn't he? But referee waves play on as Martin Odegaard dispossesses Roslev, and now Trossard is coming forward for Arsenal, looking to score another one. He didn't have much ahead of him in a show of support, and in the end, he found himself on the right-hand flank there, Leandro Trossard, and his shot never really was going to test David Raya, but Arsenal on the counter-attack there looked dangerous.
Well, it looked like the referee played two advantages there, because it looked to me as though Odegaard might have been stopped just after that initial foul on the halfway line. The effort from Trossard isn't actually that far away as we see the replay now. It looked like it was always going to be over the bar, but certainly Raya would have been worried initially when Trossard put his foot through that one.
Yeah, he caught it nicely, the Belgian, just didn't really trouble David Raya in terms of hitting the targets. Brentford are going to make their first changes of the afternoon. Johan Visser.
Double change, Johan Visser and Josh Da Silva coming on, so it's going to be Vitaly Janelt to go off to be replaced by Josh Da Silva. These two are like for like in almost every game. Whichever one of them starts is usually replaced by the other one, and the other change is up front with Mbeumo off to be replaced by Johan Visser.
Are you surprised that Brian Mbeumo has been taken off? I didn't know whether Thomas Frank would gamble and perhaps go back to a full-back and then play the front three that's been so effective for Brentford.
I just think that maybe Thomas Frank's figuring that Brentford, particularly even before the goal was scored in the 5-7 minutes before that, they were struggling to get any of the ball forward. And I just think he may be worried that if he has three forward players on the pitch, that's one less player in midfield to actually try and get the Brentford in possession in the first place. So potentially he just wants to keep things as they are for now. But there will be another option there, of course, on the bench if he wants to. He's got Lewis Potter, he's got Sharda as well. So they have got another attacker on the bench if they feel like they need one. But for the time being, 71 minutes gone, and it's Arsenal who lead 1-0.
It is Arsenal lead 1-0, and it's Leicester City that lead 4-1 at the King Power Stadium against Tottenham Hotspur. A real story developing there for Brendan Rodgers' side, who just seemed to have clicked into gear in recent weeks. And Antonio Conte's side, I mean, it's a real strange one, isn't it? They've just beaten the Premier League champions Manchester City, and a real jubilant occasion.
It just goes to show you what patience does, because based on the first 5 or 6 games of this season, most people would have said Brendan Rodgers is a dead man walking in terms of his job at Leicester, but now they look a lot more solid in mid-table, and a great win potentially for them today. But here come Arsenal.
Bukayo Saka finds Ben White again, who's on the overlap, and just ever so slightly in this game, the last sort of 15-20 minutes, the overlaps for Arsenal, the overloads, are just starting to become a bit more effective. I'm not sure whether it's the midfielders of Brentford perhaps tiring out and not quite being able to track back as well as they were in the early parts of the game, but we see it for the goal, Paul, didn't we? It was Jensen that just got outran by Bukayo Saka in the end, and
well, that stat we're just seeing there, though, Ben, as well. It's there were 9 shots from Arsenal in the first half and 6 from Brentford. In the second half, there have been 11 shots, and Arsenal have had 10 of them. So it just shows you that they really are struggling at the moment, Brentford, to create any kind of inroads in terms of attacking possession, as Ivan Toney was clearly being held onto there by William Saliba. Just wondering to see if the referee has spotted that. He has indeed. So it is going to be a free kick to Brentford as David Raya charges all the way up to the halfway line to have a word with the goalkeeper coach about something that he wasn't happy about. There is a VAR review for that 4th Leicester goal. And meanwhile, 10-man Wolves have equalised against Southampton, where the goal scorer yet to be confirmed with that one. But it's certainly things are certainly picking up elsewhere. But Brentford now with this free kick around 40 yards out.
Every Premier League game now has a goal in there after the goal scored by Leandro Trossard in our game here. But, I mean, 10-man Wolves level Nathan Jones' side. I mean, an early red card and an early goal. They would have thought that they're finally going to get a Premier League win, but they're not. Ivan Toney is on the end of that free kick, and then Johan Visser heads it back across, and Toney had peeled off his man momentarily. It's headed back in by Christian Norgaard, then by Pinnock, and then Norgaard's at the end of it, and Ivan Toney taps it in. A real goal-mouth scramble, really. But Brentford have levelled through Ivan Toney. They've had plenty of chances in the first half. They would have thought after that Leandro Trossard chance that perhaps their chance to pick up some points they had gone, but Ivan Toney has scored, and then he's come across and held up a nice shirt in tribute to Sergi Canos.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Sergi Canos leaving Brentford earlier this week. 1 game short of 250 appearances. His mother sadly passed away in the last couple of days. Lovely gesture that from the Brentford players to go straight away to the bench to hold up that shirt. But this is a massive, massive goal for Brentford, and Mikel Arteta will be furious because his side had chances to deal with this one when the ball is played across from Toney. It's headed up in the air, then it's the second header from Norgaard. Effectively 3 headers in that Arsenal box with no Arsenal player able to get on the end of it, and that will be very frustrating.
Arsenal set-piece defending, it's been questioned in recent weeks, and again here it's Brentford, they just want it more. Ethan Pinnock, and then Norgaard beats Aaron Ramsdale to it, and then Ivan Toney can tap into an empty net. It's just weak from Arsenal, it really is. Brentford just want it more, and in the end it's pinball, isn't it? It's a scrappy goal, it has to be said, but Norgaard's there just ahead of Aaron Ramsdale, who just tries to flap his arms at it, and then Ivan Toney can nod in from about 2 yards into an empty net, and Brentford have levelled at the Emirates Stadium. 75 minutes played, Arsenal won, Brentford won. It really is game on, and it's not against the run of play. It has to be said, Brentford have been in this game and they've had chances. They just thought the game perhaps could have gotten away from us. We'll just take a slight step here. We're going to look at a potential VAR review. I'm not quite sure who it's going to be against. I mean, we've got a clear offside, but he's not interfering in the play, Paul.
Well, Ayer is not interfering with play when this free kick is taken. I suppose the question is whether or not he's in the line of the sight of the goalkeeper. I mean, certainly Brentford have had this big celebration with the tribute there to Sergi Canos, and now all of a sudden this could all be...
I think they're looking at Ethan Pinnock being offside, and then he's interfering in play because he's obstructing Gabriel, which allows Ivan Toney to get across the back of him and then get contact on the original ball. But from our television pictures, it looks as if Ethan Pinnock's been played onside by the fingers of Thomas Partey. I mean, this is about as close as it could possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, these VAR decisions are the ones that, as I say, it's almost like a toss of a coin as to what they're going to do here. But it's taking a while. It's taking a very long while here for this to be checked.
I think it's going to be given because they're playing through now as if to say the goal is going to be given. I think the goal is going to be given.
It has been given, yes. So there is no offside. And Brentford are level here with 14 minutes still to play. And that will be absolute delight there for the Brentford fans and the Brentford bench as well. So it is 1-1 here now. And so we have an equaliser at the Emirates Stadium. Brentford with a free kick over on the left-hand side. Played in by Mathias Jensen. Headed across goal. Arsenal making a bit of a meal of trying to clear their lines. And eventually the ball bounced through towards Norgaard, who then played the ball across the 6-yard box for the easiest finish for Ivan Toney to nod in from just a couple of yards. There was a VAR review potentially with an offside in the build-up to the goal, but the goal stands, and it is now Arsenal 1, Brentford 1.
There's Alex Zinchenko, cuts inside on his right foot there and strikes straight down the throat of David Rowe, kick long up. And Brentford will look now for a win. They got a late win, of course, against the Premier League champions Manchester City, didn't they? That was Ivan Toney who got the goal then as Johan Visser brings the ball down. As soon as he's come on, Brentford have looked a lot more lively again. Those fresh legs up front have made the difference. So ball hooked in towards the back post. It's a real poor one. Lands on top of Aaron Ramsdale's net. It's going to be an Arsenal goal kick. 77 minutes played in this match at the Emirates Stadium, and it's still as you were at the start of the game. Arsenal 1, Brentford 1. Score lines on level terms, and I mean, I think neither of us, Paul, quite know what's going to happen next.
No, I must admit, once Arsenal scored, I figured that would be... I mean, obviously a 1-0 lead isn't game over, but you just felt as though Arsenal had enough about them and they were on a bit of a roll to really sort of close the game off. But that's a free kick given away, ball into the box, and it's that Achilles heel for Arsenal again, defending set pieces that lets them down there. But now a free kick given away, Christian Norgaard just clipping the heels there. I think it was Ødegaard who was brought down, and it's a free kick here for Arsenal around about the halfway line.
Is indeed, and it's Thomas Partey who's going to have the ball here. I don't think Arsenal are going to be putting the ball into the box just yet, but 78 minutes played in this massive game in the Premier League title race, and at the moment Manchester City will be looking on anxiously, but they also will be thanking Ivan Toney there, who's already hurt them this season, but he's just hurt the Gunners and Mikel Arteta's side here. As can Arsenal respond with Eddie Nketiah. Nketiah takes the ball all the way to the byline, pulls it back. I think that he ran it out. Did he? No. The referee says no. Well,
Brentford certainly looked towards the linesman, suggesting that maybe the ball was already out for a goal kick before it was even deflected out for a corner. I'm not sure that they were convinced about that. It was maybe just a hopeful appeal there, but the linesman over on that far side said nothing doing. It's a short corner.
Zinchenko finds Ødegaard with lovely work short corner, and Ødegaard's ball in again's really poor. It's been a poor afternoon.
He should have hit it himself. He's got such a good left foot. He could have put his laces through that. He had enough space to do that, Ødegaard. Chose to just try and put a cross in, which is cleared away, but Arsenal still in possession.
It's had a poor afternoon. The Arsenal captain, I was about to say, as Granit Xhaka finds Leandro Trossard, the Arsenal goal scorer. Trossard's ball to Eddie Nketiah, and Nketiah tries to just lay it off into the feet of Thomas Partey, who was very unexpected, and then the ball gets away from him. Zinchenko has the ball again for Arsenal, tries to find, just to thread the eye of the needle, really, of that ball in behind to Eddie Nketiah. It's never going to happen. Trossard's ball to Nketiah, there's a good one. Nketiah turns Ben Mee, finds Thomas Partey. Does he know? Mathias Jensen just about is there to put the ball out, but Trossard will keep it in, and Arsenal will look to come again. 79.5 minutes played at the Emirates Stadium. Thomas Partey picks the ball up, just about pokes it away before Johan Visser puts the pressure on, and Zinchenko has the ball for Arsenal again. Zinchenko has Xhaka on his left-hand side, but instead opts to go for a shot. Not a bad strike at all from the Ukrainian. Just whiskers wide of David Raya's post, but Arsenal close to regaining.
Well, he curses himself, there's Zinchenko, but I don't think he needs to. It's not a bad effort at all. If he takes that same shot just a yard further over, I think he's got a really good chance of beating David Raya there. But the ball in the end deflects out. As we see another replay of the Brentford goal, I mean, the only offside potentially there would have been Pinnock getting tangled with Gabriel. Once that was dealt with, I couldn't see any other potential offside there that would have gone in Arsenal's favour. But it still took a little while for the VAR officials just to confirm it. I mean, potentially Toney, when he's jumping here with Zinchenko, he could be offside, but that's not in the same passage of play as where the ball gets through to Norgaard, who is onside, so it's probably just about right.
Yeah, I think it's the right decision. When it's so close like that, you want to see it, just the benefit. We want to see goals, don't we? I think you want to give the benefit of the doubt to the attackers, but as you say, it's a close one, and sometimes the Premier League is decided on fine margins. As we just confirmed, Granit Xhaka has been taken off. Fabio Vieira coming on.
He had a really good game against Brentford in the reverse fixture earlier this season.
He scored, didn't he?
He scored a fantastic goal, yeah. So Mikel Arteta will be hoping that he can replicate it this time as well.
As Zinchenko finds Leandro Trossard. Trossard looks to combine with Vieira, but this time opts to go inside to Thomas Partey. Partey to Ben White. Tommy Asu change never actually happened. Ben White stayed on. I think it's because he got very better, and perhaps I was about to say Ben White's about to set up a goal there because he put a great ball into the back post, but it's Roslev who just about nips in before Leandro Trossard to prevent the Belgian from getting his second and Arsenal's second of the game. It's Trossard who comes across to take this corner for the Gunners. Defending set pieces have been their Achilles heel. Can they hit Brentford where Brentford are so successful? And that's with a set piece. Of course, Arsenal did score a set piece against Brentford when these two sides faced earlier on in the season. William Saliba scored the header, and this will be the man they aim for with the corner here. And they do aim for Saliba, but it's headed away well by Ben Mee. I think he collided with the head of Saliba, so we're going to see a stoppage in play. It's a head injury.
Two players down here. I think they're both Brentford players as well. There's one head injury, that's to Ben Mee. It also seems like there's some sort of muscle injury here as well for Mads Roslev. So both players are going to need to be checked over here. Ben Mee is injured, has got a head injury, but he's still got enough about him to be pointing fingers at Arsenal players who are pointing fingers at him for spending too long down on the ground. So it's obviously not that injured, Ben Mee, but he still needs to be checked over here. And the physio just being beckoned on now.
He's a veteran, Ben Mee. I'm not accusing him of time wasting by any means, but you know that he is. Oh, you see there, it's just with Willie Saliba, isn't it? Just a little slight nick of heads, but he wasn't happy that he'd been accused of time wasting himself there, Ben Mee, was he? And I think actually the Roslev one, we can actually see it on television pictures there. It's Gabriel going up for a header, and he sort of just lands awkwardly on Roslev's leg, which perhaps has given the Brentford wing back a slight dead leg. As this gives Mikel Arteta the opportunity to deliver some instructions into Martin Ødegaard. Eddie Nketiah is really animated, isn't he? Mikel Arteta there, and he knows how important this game is for Arsenal. As it stands, they'll be going 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League, having played the same amount of games as Manchester City. City host Villa tomorrow, can close the gap to 3 points before they face the Gunners midweek. So it's a massive game for Arsenal. Listen, Leicester, they've had a fourth goal disallowed earlier on. They haven't now. They've scored a fourth again. And Tottenham are really up against it now. I mean, well, that game's done and dusted. 82 minutes played.
Well, maybe it's justice because it's the same scorer that had his goal disallowed earlier. Harvey Barnes had a goal disallowed to make it 4-1. Now Barnes has scored again to make it 4-1. So let's hope for his sake that that goal will be allowed. I'm sadly old enough to remember his dad playing as a striker in the lower leagues, Paul Barnes, way back in the day. But certainly Harvey Barnes has had a strange sort of season really for Leicester. Pretty much like Leicester as well. They've been sort of hot and cold, but that'll be a big win for Brendan Rodgers' side today, and a big loss that for Spurs as Arsenal restart playing. They're pushing forward immediately.
They are indeed with Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey finds Ben White. Jan Bednarek own goal instantly was what levelled Wolves at St Mary's as Thomas Partey has the ball here. And James Tompkins, a rare goal for Crystal Palace as he levelled at Brighton. So quite a few 1-0s in the Premier League at the moment. Thomas Partey finds Ben White. Can Arsenal change this 1-0 scoreline? Cleared away well by Ethan Pinnock. 1-1 in Arsenal Brentford, 1-1 in Crystal Palace Brighton, 1-1 in Southampton Wolves. So 3-1 all scorelines at the moment as Bukayo Saka has the ball for Arsenal. Saka to Ødegaard. Ødegaard with a couple of ball rolls and then finds Saka again. Saka out wide to Ben White. Arsenal not quite flooding the box yet. I don't think that's really their route to success. When you look at the likes of Eddie Nketiah and Fabio Vieira in there, they're not really going to win headers against the Brentford back line as Zinchenko looks for Fabio Vieira, but he finds Leandro Trossard instead. Trossard looks to go right and then left. He beats Roslev nicely. Trossard cuts inside onto his right foot, then plays a square ball across to William Saliba. Saliba's pass was trying to thread the eye needle to Bukayo Saka. Wasn't quite able to do that, but he does find Saka in the end at the second time of asking. Saka to Trossard, who's come all the way across into a central position to win the ball. Then Zinchenko takes a touch, then takes a shot. Bukayo Saka's shot. It's a real poor one from the Arsenal winger. He want that one back. He had a lot of time on the ball. He was off balance. It was on the half volley. Slight sort of panic in the way he struck that, and Mikel Arteta looks frustrated. I think he knows that we're a waste from one of his star boys there.
Well, he knows that the time's ticking down, and Saka wasn't compelled to have that shot. He could have taken a touch, tried to look up where his teammates were. He's a little bit off balance, and he's not caught that one as he would have liked. But with 4.5 minutes plus injury time to play, Arteta's going to get more and more anxious now.
He's indeed, as you mentioned, 4.5 minutes, not long left for Arsenal if they do want to find a winner in this match. But it has to be said, 1-0 is probably a fair reflection of this game, Paul.
I think so. I think that Brentford, you can't say that Brentford have ridden their luck because they have defended well. Arsenal haven't actually had that many sort of goal-mouth chances and shots cleared off the line. It's just been a lot of very steady possession to try and wear Brentford down. But this second half, I think Arsenal will be frustrated because based on the first half, I think it's a fair result. Based on the second half, Brentford have played well, but they haven't really created too many opportunities. And Arsenal will be frustrated that having taken the lead, they've allowed Brentford back into the game. Ben
White finds William Saliba. Saliba back out to Ben White. White looks for a chip ball over the top to Bukayo Saka. It's a poor one, but it's real poor control from Ben Mee. And to be fair to Ben Mee, he does really well to recover and just about prevent the ball going out from a corner. But it will be an Arsenal throw-in as they just look to turn the screw, create one final opportunity, and hopefully for their sake take it to move them 8 points clear at the top of the table. Fabio Vieira to Gabriel. Arsenal knocking the ball side to side at the moment, not really in a rush, but the clock is ticking away as we speak. Approaching the 87th minute mark, Arsenal 1, Brentford 1. The ball's with the captain, Martin Ødegaard. Ødegaard to Fabio Vieira. Vieira out wide left to Zinchenko. Is he going to go onto his right foot as he has done so many times? He is. He looks to deliver a ball. It's headed away well by Christian Norgaard. Then Ivan Toney can make the ball stick and try and get Johan Visser away on the counter-attack. And Thomas Partey's there to intercept and look to get Arsenal on the front foot again. Partey to Vieira. Vieira to Zinchenko. There's not a lot of movement in red shirts though from Arsenal, and I think that will disappoint Arteta. Brentford in that compact shape that they have been for the majority of the game. It's really difficult for Arsenal to find any passing rhythms, any passing movements, any real space to create anything. They need an overlap really, and Zinchenko's not going to supply that. As Nketiah looks to swivel away from his man, and he does just that, but David Raya done really well just to nip in there as Nketiah turned his man, and David Raya took a nasty blow, I think, from the boot of Eddie Nketiah, and he'll go down. Just let that clock run down just a little bit more. Nketiah just looked, didn't need to get away, and I think his right boot catches David Raya. And David Raya
does. I mean, we'll see from this replay just how bad it was here for Raya. I mean, Nketiah, yeah, I think Raya just to be safe wanted to stay down for a little bit longer there. But yeah, real frustration there for Arsenal. Nketiah just couldn't quite get the ball out from under his feet as Brentford go on a momentary attack.
They do, and there's also going to be frustration for Nathan Jones as this side are losing now to 10-man Wolves. We'll get more news for you on that after this attack as Eddie Nketiah holds the ball up, finds Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka to Eddie Nketiah. Nketiah has his pocket picked by his own man there, Martin Ødegaard. I don't think it's really helped Arsenal's cause, but Bukayo Saka will recycle possession for the Gunners. Nketiah to Vieira. Vieira's got Trossard on his overlap. He finds Trossard. Trossard looked for a ball into Eddie Nketiah. Nketiah can just about bring the ball down on his chest, but he's been smothered out really by the Brentford defence. And then Zinchenko picks the ball up for Arsenal. He's not on the same wavelength as Fabio Vieira. The ball to Vieira was on, but Vieira just made a run, and in the end didn't work out very well. And Leandro Trossard has brought down Johan Visser on his way back to defensive duty.
Ivan Toney just having a word with the referee, feeling as though there could have been a counter-attack there. I don't think the referee will be too concerned about that. He'll feel as though there was still enough about... the ball was still being effectively stopped there on that right-hand side. And now a little bit of a pushing match here between Trossard and Josh Da Silva. Referee just trying to diffuse the situation here. I think the issue was that it was taking Brentford a little bit too long to take the free kick. Trossard then got in the way, and eventually Da Silva then just trying to slow things down. But yeah, I mean, after our game last week, the commentary we did together was Brentford against Southampton, and I mean, I was shocked to see just how much negativity there was on social media towards Nathan Jones, to the point that in the middle of the week, Southampton tweeted about their under-18s playing a game that evening, and about 50 people liked it, but about 200 people replied to it saying, Jones out, Jones out. And as I say, it's not going to help his cause this afternoon. They've been playing 10-man Wolves for over an hour today, and now they're 2-1 down. I mean, I can't think of another Premier League manager who's alienated the fans as quickly as Nathan Jones seems to have done.
Yeah, it's not the best, is it? Especially after the interviews he's been given, which have been quite strange, really.
They have been, yeah, sort of saying that he's sort of been brought in to make a change. He's not getting that change. You know, it's almost like he's asking to be sacked. But in the meantime, Fulham, their manager, certainly in no danger of being sacked. Marco Silva's side now lead 2-0 against Nottingham Forest, and it's the Israeli international Manor Solomon that has made it 2-0 in that game with just a couple of minutes to go.
It's a great win for Fulham, because Nottingham Forest, of course, in 2023 are the most informed side in the league. They top the Premier League tree in the new year. Brentford actually second in that table, with Liverpool bottom, of course. So it's a real strange
it is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
This year, as we look at the possession stats over the last 10 minutes, Arsenal had 86%, Brentford just 14%. But we look at Gabriel Jesus looking on. He looks a slightly worried figure. I think he knows. For Arsenal, Goodison Park last week, 1-0 defeat. Brentford at home this week. Brentford are a great side, of course, at 7th in the Premier League. It was always going to be a tough task on paper, but that's 5 points dropped for the Gunners, unless they can find something late and great here. But at the moment, it's a real struggle as William Saliba will win a goal kick for his side here under pressure from Rico Henry. But João Gomez incidentally got that goal for Wolves at St Mary's.
Well, for all the trouble that Nathan Jones has got, we've got to say that slowly but surely Lopetegui's getting a tune out of that Wolves team, isn't he?
Yeah, the Wolves are doing really well actually over the last few weeks, and he's just slowly steering them clear of that relegation zone, which a team like Wolves, with the players they've got, shouldn't be anywhere near anyway, in fairness. But here come Arsenal with Leandro Trossard. Trossard looks towards Nketiah, but again, it's a ball that Nketiah can't really do much with. He's so square on, and even if he was to bring the ball down, he would have been under a lot of pressure from the Brentford defenders. Ivan Toney's furious there because William Saliba had hands all over him, but the referee, Peter Banks, waves play on. Ødegaard finds Nketiah. Nketiah tries to just flick the ball past Ben Mee. It's off Ben Mee's head, really, and then into the arms of David Raya. 92 minutes played in this football match. We had 5 added on. We got 3 to play. Yeah, and it just seems as if we're destined for 1-1.
It does, yeah. You can see quite a few Arsenal fans there on the far side pointing to their watches, whether they've actually got a watch on or whether they're just pointing to an imaginary one, because Ivan Toney now seems to have a problem with his left thigh. The Brentford frontman, the goal scorer today, has just sat down on the ground. So Brentford still, of course, have 3 changes to make potentially if they want to. So there'll be no issue here. If Toney does have to go off, they can bring on either Schade or Lewis Potter, or potentially a defensive change just to try and flood things in the last few minutes. But Mikel Arteta, he's not letting this go. He's having a real go there at our 4th official now, Mr. Simon Hooper.
Yeah, I think Arteta, this is something we've been accustomed to seeing from him over the course of his season. I see a funny interview with Mikel Arteta, actually. I think it was after the Manchester United game where Jeff Shreves of Sky Sports asked him, didn't he, whether or not that Mikel Arteta, his actions on the sideline were warranted, and then Arteta said something along the lines of, sometimes you've got to get better in life, innit? So it was quite a funny interview with Mikel Arteta, and I think he's always been an animated guy.
He is. I mean, I do like Mikel Arteta. I think that it was fascinating actually to see, just veering off on a quick tangent because Tony's still being checked over here. I found it fascinating that when he was appearing in that Manchester City documentary that was made a couple of years ago, didn't speak in English at all throughout it. He always gave his interviews there in Spanish, but He's been in England now for a long time, of course. In Great Britain, of course, he had a successful spell as a younger player playing for Glasgow Rangers as well, Mikel Arteta. But I like the sort of manager that he's become. I like the fact that there's that technical background from working with Pep Guardiola. There's the background of being an excellent midfielder himself, combined with the fact that the guy clearly has a lot of passion and he lives every pass and every kick with his players. And that's the sort of manager you want, I think.
He does, and that's why he's become so loved by the Arsenal faithful. As Brentford look to come forward here and really put a stamp on Arsenal's title charge, and they've won a corner. Thomas Partey intercepts Rico Henry, and it's probably the last bit of action of the game. We'd expect it to be Arsenal pushing for that goal, but it's Brentford, and they're throwing a lot of bodies forward here because they know that this is probably just about it. There's not going to be enough time for Arsenal to counter-attack, and they've got the height of Ben Mee, they've got the height of Ethan Pinnock. So this is a dangerous opportunity, and Arsenal have got to be aware here. We've spoke about Arsenal's sort of vulnerabilities from set pieces. Their last 3 goals have all been conceded from a set piece. Brentford now have 15 goals from set pieces, so this is something where they will look to have success. It's going to be Mathias Jensen's ball in. It's not a very good one. It's headed away at the front post by Eddie Nketiah, and then Zinchenko's there to the second ball. He's brought down by Christian Norgaard, and a massive brawl has broken out. It's got a bit scrappy. I think that's just the frustrations of the game. I don't think it was a bad tackle, Paul.
I don't think it warrants the sort of reaction from the Arsenal players. It's a challenge that could be a yellow card. It's a challenge that he's trying to stop Arsenal clearing the ball quickly, but the way the Arsenal players flooded around Norgaard, it was almost like he'd done a leg breaker there, and the Arsenal players were just jumping in on him. The reaction, I think, is exaggerated, and it actually hurts Arsenal because it's going to take those few extra seconds to diffuse the situation. Peter Banks will be angry because he's tried to keep his card in his pocket all afternoon, but in the 5th minute of injury time, he's going to have to get a yellow card for this one.
It's going to be Christian Norgaard. It's going to be carded. I'm there to agree with you there, Paul. I think it wasn't the worst tackle in the world. It probably, a yellow card, we look at a replay of it, it probably was warranted, but the Arsenal players, I think it's just a frustration of the game.
Well, for a start, I mean, Zinchenko is holding Norgaard on the hand there initially, then Norgaard tries to go for the ball. I mean,
it's a yellow card.
I think the ball's there to be won. He's not won it, and he's caught the man, so he gets a yellow card. But I don't believe there was some sort of crunching challenge there that warranted the reaction from the Arsenal players. As Ivan Toney sits down on the ground for the second time in injury time, that's bound to rile the Arsenal fans and the bench even more. But Kevin Schade is now getting ready to replace him.
Schade is coming on for probably about the 30 seconds that remains. But slight worry for Brentford that Ivan Toney's hobbling off here, Paul. You mentioned that right thigh injury, and he's such a key player to.
He is. I mean, I think his deadline for responding to all the charges is coming up in a few weeks as well. So it may well be that going forward, Brentford aren't going to see much of Ivan Toney for a while anyway. But that, of course, that all remains to be seen. That's still very much up in the air as to what happens with that. But Kevin Schade was signed undoubtedly with that in mind. He's got the number 9 shirt there as well, the young German forward, signed from Freiburg, and he's on the field now. Toney is hobbling off. Just to remind you very quickly, Arsenal's next game, as we've mentioned a few times, is Man City on Wednesday at home. Then they travel to Aston Villa for the early kick-off next Saturday. Meanwhile, Brentford have Crystal Palace at home next weekend. That's their next game, and then they have the weekend off after that because they were due to go to Old Trafford, but that's going to be moved to another date due to the Carabao Cup final. We're into the 7th minute of injury time, but we're still playing here.
And Bukayo Saka looks to be in a real bit of pain here. He's gone down. Arsenal players are surrounding the referee again. They're furious that Arsenal have not been given a free kick here. Saka's holding his right ankle. Only one full time to tell you about in the Premier League free kickoff so far, and that's at Selhurst Park. Patrick Vieira's side have come from behind to earn a point against Brighton, I should say. James Tompkins with the leveller there. It's Crystal Palace 1, Brighton 1. Full time now at Craven Cottage. Fulham have earned the 3 points. 2-0. Arsenal are going to go for the Brentford strategy here. Thomas Partey with a long throw into the box. Everyone forward. This is it for Arsenal. Now or never for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side. Partey's ball in. Flicked on by Gabriel. No. Ethan Pinnock beats him to it. Then Martin Odegaard has the ball for Arsenal. Odegaard has Partey out wide. Can Partey deliver? Jan Visser comes across. Partey dinks up towards the back post. Gabriel heads it back across. No one's there for Arsenal. And then Gabriel is under pressure by Schade. Schade just about prevents the Arsenal corner. It goes behind for a throw, and Zinchenko's brought down. Is he by Schade? He is. It's going to be a yellow card for the Brentford substitute and a free kick. The final opportunity for Arsenal to put the ball into the box.
Bad free kick that for Kevin Schade to give away. He's only been on the field of less than a couple of minutes, and he's given a free kick away in a dangerous position. I mean, we've had the 5, we've had the 8 minutes of injury time. Now we're into the 9th. And still the game goes on, but you'd imagine that this must be the last action of the game now.
Has to be now for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. has to be now for Fabio Vieira, I should say. As Arsenal have flooded the box here, everyone is now forward apart from Aaron Ramsdale. Will they create something from this opportunity? Fabio Vieira, left-footed, out-swinging. Again, Peter Banks delays the free kick being taken just for a bit of holding in the box. We've had 98.5 minutes played, 3.5 minutes over the normal time, which is added on. Vieira's ball in. It's absolutely appalling, straight into the arms of David Raya. It's terrible, really, from Fabio Vieira.
He gets 20 of those with his goalkeeper coach in the warm-up. It was just a long, lofted curling ball, and that is it. Full time here at the Emirates. Referee Peter Banks calls time on what has been a fascinating game this afternoon. The home side with enough possession to get the win. They took the lead, but they weren't able to see it out, and it's all over here at the Emirates Stadium. It finishes Arsenal 1, Brentford 1 for myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz and my colleague Ben Rogers. Thank you very much. Join us again soon.